Okay, so what I'm going to talk about is a few behavioral modeling options for balancing verification, coverage, and credibility. And I'll explain what that means. But first, this is one of my favorite slides I put together. Back when Star Trek first aired, we did a lot more, and not that I was working at that time, but I knew a lot of people that were, and I lived on a street where there were a lot of engineers, and that actually influenced me to go into engineering. But they did a lot more work in the lab, and that's because these were the tools we had, right? We had. Anybody recognize one of these? Anybody seen one of these? Okay, yeah, that's a slide. We did that predates even handheld calculators, and this is what I actually used in high school to do my chemistry and physics. And anybody recognize this? So this is a vacuum tube. When I built my first two ham radios, built them Heathkit radios. They were vacuum tubes. This is what we had before transistors. So armed with this as a tool and this in the lab, there wasn't really a big need for simulation, right? Well, it would have been nice, but this is what we used. And of course, yeah, that's me. That's me when I was 28 with James Doohan from Scotty from Star Trek, right? And that was taken about 1983. At that time, I was working on a NASA contract to develop a software tool for modeling and designing spacecraft power systems. And at that time, who knew that just in 3 more years they would come up with schematic capture, and SPICE was going to really start taking off at that point. You have all the alphabet SPICEs and Cray computers, and I don't know if anybody remembers Cray computer. At that time, that was the ultimate computer. Was a Cray. Was cooled with liquid nitrogen. Keep it from overheating. Anyway, and then things really took off. So now, most of the design is done before ever setting foot in the lab, right? So you do everything on the laptop. You have a schematic capture program, and really that's all you can do, because on this wafer there's almost 1,000 chips, and on each chip there's millions of transistors, and that used to be represented by one of these, right? So there's no way you can tinker around in the lab anymore. You have to do this with simulation. These two things feed on each other, right? The more powerful your tools, the more complex you can make your circuits before you go to production. The more complicated you make your circuits, the faster the computers get. So the these two phenomena feed on each other, and that's how we got to this state. Anyway, the point is here that again, you don't go to the lab anymore and tweak your way to the market or experiment your way to the market. You have to do everything with simulation. And of course, simulation depends on models, right? The simulator doesn't, it does a lot of mathematical crunching, but those equations really, have to have some models to tie them to physical reality. Okay, so the simulations, they have to be fast to cover all of these scenarios that we have to deal with today. On a complex chip today, there's maybe thousands of, or maybe hundreds of thousands of different scenarios we need to simulate. Of course, this also has to be done before tape-out. Not only that, but we're dealing with a moving target. We can't wait for the design to be done, and then we do the simulations, right? You have to do this concurrently, so you're going to actually verify several snapshots of your design as it marches towards tape-out. Not only that, but each one of these scenarios is not going to be run just once. You're going to run it many times. You're going to debug. You're going to find design errors, modeling errors, test bench errors, and simulator errors in some cases, right? So each one of these scenarios involves many simulations. Then it has to be done over all the scenarios, all these different snapshots. Furthermore, the bugs that you find don't usually reveal themselves all at the same time. They're sequential in nature. You find one, you fix it, then you see the other one, the next one. So it's a sequential process, meaning that these thousands of simulations have to be run sequentially. And even if we took today's fastest simulator, which ran, the whole chip in a day, that would be extraordinarily fast. but we can't wait 1,000 days.